Hello, I'm Emma of Granola Gear, and I'm so excited you've decided to join me to chat today about what I've been knitting lately. The summer projects have been absolutely flying off my needles. Like I've said before, this is kind of my first big knitting summer, I feel like, and I'm really getting into all the small gauge stuff that I was kind of afraid of before. I had been focused on maybe a worsted weight project, DK if I was really feeling crazy in the past, and I didn't make that many summer focused pieces. So I'm kind of, sorry if I bumped the mic, reaching into the archives of what I consider to be like the basics that a lot of people have knit and working those up myself. What I'm wearing today is the cami number 6, I think, maybe one of them by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's a worsted or Aran weight pattern. This is knit in a basic cotton. It's all right. It's not my favorite. The straps are really rolly, which I'm not a huge fan of. So you might see my bra strap peeking out. Sorry. But I might need to block it again a little more aggressively. But when I tried last time, it didn't work out too well. So it is what it is. I'm wearing it today as it's like 95 degrees out. It's not as hot in my apartment, luckily, but it's pretty toasty. And the AC is not on so that I can film this. I have a handful of finished objects today, and one of them is a little non-traditional, but I will start with one that I was pretty far along with in the last podcast, and that is the Cumulus O-neck by Petite Knit, and mine is knit up in an unraveled sweater yarn. I'll add the video that I added last time as well of what this originally looked like, because that's really fun. It's an 100% merino. The yarn actually had a spandex strand in it when I unraveled it, but I was able to pull it out as I unraveled it, which was perfect. And so it's this beautiful like robin's egg blue. It turned out so nicely. I ended up doing the hem in just a raw bound off edge because I wanted to use as much yarn as I could for the body, because this is literally every tiny bit of yarn that I had left. I have maybe a piece of yarn this big. I just knit as far as I could on the body. Here was my trick. I knit as many rows on the body as I could until I ran out of yarn. And then I unraveled to my beginning of round marker, and then one additional round I unraveled again. And then I used that amount to bind off the entire sweater. And it ended up not being quite enough, and I had to like bind off a little tighter for the last couple inches. And so I got to use every little teeny drop for the body. It's all blocked out. As you can see, my knitting is not perfect. It's not super even, but I'm not really particular when it comes to that. I think this looks wonderful. I think it's beautiful. And I think the slight imperfections are what makes things handmade and makes them special. It's cool to have really nice finishing details that make it look more commercial, but really the average person knows nothing about fabric or about knits, and them looking at this, they're not going to go, oh my gosh, her gauge is a little uneven. It's not even a thought that would cross their mind. And any other knitter who sees me out and about wearing this who would have that thought, I don't really care. It's not their piece. It's not my problem. So that's my side tangent. But I really like this piece. It's really beautiful. It turned out well. I've worn it over a dress. I'm not sold on the whole wearing merino in the summertime thing. I think I've realized that a lot of why I see that so much, and I think that it should be normal, is like all the Canadian and Scandinavian knitters, because they, I'm assuming, don't have quite as hot or as long of a summer. So pieces like this that I'd consider maybe a springtime piece are a lot more wearable for longer for them. Not that you can't wear merino in the summertime, it just, I don't know, I still get a little hot. I've worn this on a pretty toasty day, and it was okay. It wasn't the end of the world, but I definitely was a little bit sweaty. I wasn't going to wear it for forever, even in this super light fingering gauge. But yeah, this was an enjoyable piece. I knit the O-neck because I just didn't want to do as much flat knitting as the V-neck required for this. And I like how it turned out. Yeah, that is my first finished object. The next one is cami number 7 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Let me find the front of this. This is knit up in a 100% linen unraveled yarn again. And I love this. I adore how it turned out. I think it has the most beautiful drape. Like, I don't know if, like, that is amazing. Can you not see that? Um, the fabric is so nice. It's not too thick. It's linen, so it's kind of cool to the touch and really easily wearable. It's in this beautiful broken rib, which I realized literally every summer knit seems like it's broken in broken rib. Not really, but a lot. Like, I don't see nearly as many winter knits in broken rib, but so many summer knits are in broken rib. It's a really pretty texture. I really like it and I don't mind knitting it, but there's a lot of them. My only problem was I had a hard time. You can probably see it on the stitch detail here, keeping this side as closed as this side is. It's definitely a little more open, and I had the same issue over here. It's not the end of the world. I tried to fix it in blocking. It didn't work out super well. I tried to like hold my stitches tighter, and it just kind of stayed that way no matter how hard I tried, but it is what it is. I really like this pattern. I think it is such a nice shape because of these increases and decreases. Instead of just being like a straight A-line top, it does give a little bit of bust shaping that it wouldn't otherwise have. And it's a really pretty detail. I think there's so much, sorry, there's motorcycles going by. There's sometimes a lot of controversy surrounding some of these really prolific Scandinavian or Danish designers. I think in part because if you live in Scandinavia, you do actually see these pieces all the time. Where I live in New England, I almost never see hand knits. I see them sometimes, but not very often. Maybe once a month, every 2 months, and I can almost never identify what pattern it is, just what knit it is. So something like this, for me, I still consider to be really unique, not something that everyone else has. And it's handmade. And handmade is basically designer, guys. Like if you bought a piece of clothing from a store that took tens to like hundreds of hours for someone to make, it would be designer. It would be hundreds of dollars. So this, guys, this is designer, and don't let anyone tell you any different. That's kind of my thought. But yeah, I really like how this turned out, and honestly, I knit another one of these. It was so beautiful to finish. I had to pause for a second there because my landlord showed up to look at something. It scared me. So this is another take. But my next piece isn't actually a pattern. This was a bit of an upcycle. I went to my local thrift store to look for a sweater to unravel for summer yarn. I don't usually pick cotton sweaters just because usually they're a little rattier. Cotton is less expensive. It's easier to make knits with. So lower end knits tend to be made with cotton. Nothing wrong with that, but a lot of times it's not a very tightly plied yarn. It's very splitty. Sometimes it's really brittle, and a lot of times the color has been washed out quite a bit because it's been worn and thrown in a washer a whole bunch of times, which is fine. It's just cotton doesn't hold color as well. So I don't usually find a piece that I really like that's knit of cotton. But I went kind of with this intention, and I get to my Goodwill and I find out that they're going to be closing for an entire month for renovations, which is wonderful. It definitely needs it. But I was like, oh no, this is my only chance for a month to pick up a sweater to unravel. So I was definitely really focused on wanting something. And I found this cotton sweater that I liked, kind of this peachy color. And I was really excited about it because when I looked at it, when I looked at the inside, there's two different ways that commercial sweaters are made. They're either knit in panels that are the shape of each piece, and essentially a crochet stitch is done to zip them together. It's a machine that does it, but it's a crochet stitch. Or a whole panel is knit, and then it is cut out of the panel, and then that is serged and sewn together. And those you can't unravel for sweater yarn. So when I looked at the inside of the body, just in here, I saw that it was looked to be knit in panels and crochet stitched together. So I was like, okay, I'm great. It'll be perfect. I brought it home and I looked a little harder at it because I was too focused on finding something that I didn't examine the entire sweater. And it turned out that the sleeves were knit in panels and cut and serged. So the sleeves I couldn't unravel for yarn, but I still wanted to use it. And I was like, I don't want to waste the sleeve fabric just to get the body yarn, that feels like a huge waste. But I was like, you know what? I can make something out of it, whether it's a bag or something else. Like, I'll just like undo it and then I'll see what these sleeves look like and what I can do with it. So I pulled all the panels apart and I looked at the sleeves and I was like, you know what? I can totally make a shirt out of these. So I did. um, I'll like insert a little graphic that I'll make of like the shape that the sleeve was and how I cut it to give myself this shape. Um, but it looks a little rough around these edges here because I need to throw it in the washer again and then kind of trim whatever fuzz comes out. Because what I did was actually look how clean that is. Look how clean that stitch that I did is. I crocheted the sides together and then trimmed the extra because it was a big triangle of fabric here that would have been uncomfortable. I cut off the serged edges. So there's a serged edge around the bottom here, and I worked into each stitch of the machine knit panel and then trimmed off the serged edge. So it's this nice, clean, what looks like just a raw bound off hem. And the same for the top. I picked up stitches along the top here in the fabric, and then I like clipped the thread of the next row and just unpicked it all along. So I got this clean finished edge. And then this was already like the sleeve was like this. So right here I stitched it up, cut off this section, and then here I crocheted. I actually sewed the edge here. I did the same thing on the inside. I machine sewed the like edge here so that it would come apart, and then crocheted over it. So kind of like you would for a steek or something like that, which I haven't steeked before. I really want to, but I understand the principle. And then just did little crochet chains along the way to give it that. And it's really cute. I mean, I think this is a really pretty textured panel, and it was a good use of the sleeve, a nice light summer top, and that way I could use the body yarn without feeling unbelievably guilty. So yeah, I was really happy with how this turned out. It's very cool. Not something I expected to be able to pull from that, but hey, I get a cool sort of, well, handmade, just not necessarily hand knit piece out of it. And yeah, that was a fun little extra thing. Now on to works in progress. I have two new things. One of them is a test knit for Gregoria Fibers, and this is the Anais, I'm not sure exactly how you say it, tee. This is what I have so far. It's got this really pretty cabled, sorry, there's a string on it, cabled detail down the center and sleeves. I believe it's supposed to be pretty fitted. I haven't seen a photo of it on someone, but based on the measurements and all that, that appears to be what it is. I've done the sleeve. I haven't done the neck edge yet. And this is in, I picked this up just for the test knit. I wanted something that I could return if I didn't get gauge, or at least all but one of the bolts. Sorry. And I didn't want to wait for shipping. There was yarn support if you were in the EU, but I'm not in the EU, so I said I was fine with providing my own yarn. And I picked up Rosa Pomar Mungo, which is half cotton, half wool, in color 8, which is this really pretty, like bright cobalty blue. This has been a really nice yarn to work with. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to be on the skin. Definitely not going to be a peak summer top. But it's been nice to work with, so I'm not really sure yet. We'll see. Like I said, not 100% sold on the wool for summer thing, but I'm giving it a shot this year. Yeah, it's got this nice shoulder detail. Not a saddle shoulder, but increases of that variety with a set-in sleeve. I'll definitely block these sleeves out wider so that it's more even with the rest of the sleeve because I don't love a super tight edged sleeve. I kind of put this on pause, at least for the body, because I am way ahead of the other testers. They don't have their yarn yet, and this flew off the needles. So yeah, I like this pattern. It's very cute. I'm excited to see how it blocks out in the end. I love this little cable detail. And I actually, for the first time, have done cables without a cable needle. They're just two 2x2 crosses, so it was pretty easy. I hadn't done that before, and this yarn was good for it. The wool gave it enough grip that it didn't unravel as I was trying to do it. So yeah, that was a win so far. And next, I'll just give you a quick update on my cami number 4 for my friend, which is all tangled. I have started doing the straps, but I need her to measure a piece so that I can know how long the straps are supposed to be. Everyone's straps in all the pictures of the projects on Ravelry and stuff look really long, and I don't feel like they should be that long, but I don't want to make them too short. I don't know. Same issue that I was talking about in the last one. I worry that they'll stretch, and I'm not sure exactly what to do with them. I did get a good suggestion of putting something in the strap to keep them from, like, even if they stretch out, they'll have something holding them tighter on the inside, like an acrylic yarn or something like that. I just haven't decided what length they need to be at all. I was hoping that in her pattern she'd have specific lengths for each size, and I would just do that minus like 1 inch to make up for any potential stretch. But she doesn't. She just says like knit to the length that works for you. So now I'm just waiting for my friend to measure a similar top that she has so that I can knit them to the correct length. And that's that. And that's in Drop Saffron in red clay. The next piece I cast on yesterday, and this is with the yarn from that sweater and my leftover Drop Saffron in Cobalt, and it is an unbelievably cute color combo. Oh my goodness. I was thinking I would do something different with this, thinking about holding it double, doing something more DK, and then I saw it with this yarn and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so friggin' cute. I have to do something with those together. And I looked at a bunch of like striped patterns, and I just wasn't like vibing with a lot of them. I haven't done like intentional stripes before. I've striped things, but I've done more of a I use one yarn until it runs out and then I move on to the next one kind of deal, not like really defined stripes. So that's what this was going to be. And I ended up picking the Friday Tee by Petite Knit. I kind of tired of Broken Rib, but I just really, really like the look of this piece. And I know it's Petite Knit, but I just don't care. I think it's really cute. I like the Broken Rib. I looked at every single other stripe pattern on Ravelry in a yarn weight that I could do. And honestly, this was the one that I liked the most. I'm really thorough when it comes to picking patterns. I will look through hundreds of Ravelry search pages in search of what I like. But at the end of the day, sometimes what you know is just the best or looks the best or it's what you like the best. And that's okay. Like, I don't need craziness. I need wearability. And I wear all of my Petite Knit pieces all the time. So to me, that says that's okay. Knitting more of it is not a crime. But I've just started the short rows, so we've only got a stripe on one side because that's the back. It's a little confusing. I'm gonna have to watch some videos on doing jogless stripes because my first one isn't perfect. And I'm not sure exactly how to manage that, but I'll figure it out. I think it's gonna be a really cute piece. We will see. So that is all my works in progress. For acquisitions, the only acquisitions were that cotton yarn and the Rosa Pomar Mungo. I do, in my next video, I will have a good size acquisition that I'm really excited about. I placed my first ever Knitting for Olive order. It's mostly pure silk because that's something I consider to be semi-unique to them. There's lots of other silks, but that one is a pretty good price and they have really good color selections. I've looked at other silks and I just really like that one. It's a raw silk as well, so it's a little different than other things, but I have a couple projects planned for that I'm really excited about. I probably won't order from them again for a long time. I just know that silk would be a yarn that I definitely will wear in the summertime and will make my pieces more wearable in high summer when it's super hot. So I wanted to, sorry for bumping that, give it a shot. So I'm really excited for that to arrive. And that is all for my acquisitions and potential future acquisitions. I will mention the books that I've read recently, and I've finished two pretty One of them pretty hefty, and the other one I've actually read the first two in the series sci-fi books recently. The first one was Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, and this one's a standalone. So if you like that kind of thing, but you don't want to get into a crazy series, definitely recommend. Brandon Sanderson does an amazing job of coming up with super interesting and like relatively unique magic systems. But it's not like fairy tale magic. It's definitely kind of sci-fi magic. And this one was all based in colors, which is so interesting. I won't spoil, but it is a really fantastic, adventurous tale from a handful of different perspectives, and it was really excellent. I highly recommend. And the next book that I read was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. And I had seen this one recommended a handful of times as a really excellent sci-fi novel and series. And I've read the first two now, and it was fantastic. It's kind of like a caste system, like lowest rising up kind of deal series, but it's so interesting. There's not really any magic. It's more of like a in the future kind of deal, like in a future world where we have all these things that we don't have now and we've colonized different planets and that kind of thing. But it's, I don't know, it's so good. It was very good. I was like so hooked. I'm really excited to read the next book. I have it on hold at the library. I definitely will zoom through this one. I've really been enjoying it, but I highly recommend. So that's been what I've been reading lately. I hope you've enjoyed joining me on this little chat. I'm excited to chat with you again next time, hopefully with that Knitting for Olive, which I am so very excited about. But yeah, if you like this, please give me a like and a subscribe. It really means a lot to me. And have a great day. Happy knitting.